Hello everyone, I'm Alexandre Bougnol, a CIRAD scientist hosted by the University of Abomey-Calavi and its Faculty of Agricultural Sciences in Benin. I'm going to present to you on behalf of our team a study carried out in Benin and which aimed to assess the rheological and textural properties of Lafun, a stiff dough obtained from local and improved varieties. This work was published in the special issue of the International Journal of Food Science and Technology, and this work was carried out as part of the CRP-RTB project and gathered contributions from USFSA, CIRAD, CIAT, and IITA Benin. The outline of the presentation will be as follows. A first part intending to briefly present in what context this study was carried out. We will then present the methodology implemented through the varieties studied and the analysis carried out. A third part will allow us to present the main results obtained. Finally, a part intended to present the main conclusions and perspectives for the continuation of the work. The Lafun is a staple food produced in the southeast Benin and on the other side of the Nigerian border. It's important to indicate that this product is subject to important commercial exchanges between the two countries. It's a fermented and dried cassava chunks product very similar to the dry fufu that we can find in Nigeria and Cameroon. Lafun is consumed as a dough, and as we will detail below, the main difference with the dry fufu is the cooking step, with in the case of Lafun, the addition of maize starch as porridge form within the cooking mix before kneading. Concerning the context of new cassava varieties development, the new varieties developed aim to meet different objectives and challenges and must therefore bring together a set of criteria of different kinds. They must therefore have better agronomic characteristics by having good yields, good resistance to disease, or even be able to cope with climate change. On another level, other criteria must make it possible to meet the nutritional needs of populations. These new varieties are thus biofortified with, in particular, increased carotenoid contents. These varieties must also meet criteria to meet the needs of users at the level of processors or consumers. They must thus allow profitability of processes with good yields and good productivity and a moderate dryness. They must also meet the organoleptic characteristics expected by consumers: good color, good textural properties, taste and odor. Finally, beyond these organoleptic characteristics, they must also meet the needs related to consumption patterns and practices, with, in the case of Lafun, an important post-cooking storage step, because this must allow the product to be consumed several hours after cooking. Accordingly, the objective of our study has been to clarify textural and rheological properties and after-cooking storability of Lafun from improved cassava varieties and positioning them against Lafun from two controlled local varieties. Thus, a total of 16 12-month-old varieties were studied. They constituted three main categories: two local white flesh varieties traditionally used for the production of Lafun and highly appreciated by processors and consumers, 7 improved white flesh varieties, and 7 improved provitamin A carotenoid varieties. As shown in the photo, this represents a large variability of roots. Regarding the Lafun transformation process, we can first observe that it's very similar to the dry fufu process. It thus includes the same step with first peeling, then soaking grating for 2 days, followed by a manual fibers separation step, at the end of which the pulp obtained is sun-dried. The dry product is then ground to obtain a Lafun flour, constituting a stable intermediate product, which can be used for cooking up to several weeks or months after production. On this slide, we have a focus on the preparation step or cooking step of the Lafun dough. This cooking step consists of boiling water to which is added a starch maize porridge, as known locally as ogi. Once the boiling point is reached, the pot is removed from the open fire and the Lafun flour is introduced. In dry basis, the proportion of Lafun flour is 4 times that of maize, which was defined from preliminary tests with processors. For our study and laboratory analysis, 1 kilogram of Lafun dough was produced and the kneading of these materials was carried out with kitchen kneader. Concerning the Lafun flour, the pasting properties measurements were carried out using a rheometer fitted with a Van rotor probe. Parameters such as peak, final and setback viscosities could be measured. Regarding the Lafun dough, Textural analyses were carried out using a TXT plus texturometer with an Ottawa cell extrusion probe, which allowed to measure hardness and stickiness parameters. Regarding the result, this table summarizes all the values obtained from the pasting properties of the different floors. Apart from pasting temperature, the pasting properties of Lafun floors revealed significant differences between the three types of varieties. We can thus highlight that the local varieties had the highest final, peak, and setback viscosities, indicating that different tendencies toward reassociation of amylose molecules upon cooling. Regarding the texture measurement, the results made it possible to highlight three different types of behavior according to the evolution of hardness during storage. Varieties could thus be classified according to these three types of behavior. The first type of behavior is the softening of the dough pieces over time. The second behavior is the stiffening of the dough pieces during storage. And the last type of behavior is the hardness of the dough pieces, which does not change during storage. We can thus observe that the local varieties are all part of the group of varieties which become stiffer during storage. We also observe the presence of improved varieties in the same group, which gives hopes that they can be adopted by users. Correlation attempts were made between the setback measurements obtained on floor and the hardness measurements obtained on dough pieces. It can thus be seen that there is a relatively good negative correlation for the group of varieties which experience a decrease in their hardness during storage. On the other hand, no correlation appears for the group of varieties that experience hardening during storage. In order to explain these results, it seems interesting to hypothesize the impact of the addition of maize starch in the formulation of dough pieces and their textural behavior. As a conclusion, we tried here to resume the main factors impacting the unit operation and the products under processing through the blue boxes, and to highlight the main characteristics linked to the build of the quality of the product, beige boxes. In this way, the quality of the raw material is variety dependent. It depends also of the production conditions, agropedoclimatic conditions, and harvesting conditions like season. These factors impact the quality of the starch and the amylase content within the roots. Concerning the soaking rating step, the evolution of this unit operation may depend on the amylose-amylopectin ratio, the starch granule size, the cell wall polysaccharide, the microbiological flora, and the activity of amylase. According to these different factors, the soaking rating unit operation generates products with different textural properties, different aroma, different behavior of starch retrogradation, and different acidity of product. Concerning the cooking unit operation and the addition of maize starch, the ratio of cassava and maize and also their starch composition may impact the textural properties of the Lafun dough, especially on hardness and stickiness. The storage ability of the dough should depend on the ratio of cassava and maize, the starch retrogradation, the amylase activity, and the storage temperature and duration. This giving three different hardness behaviors: stiffer, softened, and no hardness change during storage. Following this first work and as perspectives, our ongoing studies will aim to evaluate the impact of variety, production and harvesting conditions of cassava roots on the pasting properties and textural behavior of Lafun. We are also working on the understanding of the role of maize starch on the textural behavior of Lafun and the impact of modification of the amylose-amylopectin ratio. Finally, other ongoing works will try to characterize in depth the microorganism flora involved in the cassava rating and will focus on understanding their mode of action on the cassava matrix structure. Thanks for your attention.